Absolutely, it's heartbreaking, Beverly. You've mentioned it. They've been enduring so much, and you've mentioned the shelling. Well, I'd like to say that first off, that yesterday, while rescuers were trying to evacuate people in occupied territories or nearby, shelling was continuing. And people I have been talking to, well, they were lucky enough to have time to evacuate, but they have lost everything. I talked to a woman who lost her home, her flat, which is completely flooded. She was telling me she wasn't exactly surprised that it happened because she didn't put it past the Russians to destroy that dam, but still she lost everything. She's now living at her parents', and the population entirely in that region is either trying to escape or trying to evacuate people who need to escape. So it's a very, very dire situation.
The waters, the flood waters are still rising. Are people able to get out if they need to?
Well, I'll give you some figures. It's estimated that around 42,000 people might need to evacuate. There's 17,000 of them which are on the Ukrainian part of the territory, and the others are actually stuck in Russian-occupied territories. For those, the Ukrainian first responders cannot do anything. And for the 17,000 in Ukrainian-held territory, well, actually Ukrainian territory, around 1,500 people have already been evacuated, but we're talking about 20 settlements already completely flooded. So there's much more work to do, and Ukrainian first responders, both professionals but also just civilians, taking whatever they can, rubber boats and the like, where they're trying their utmost, especially to help elderly people who are stuck in their home, people with disability who cannot leave by themselves. So it's very dire right now.
Yeah, it's just horrible. There is also oil leaking into the Dnipro River. What is going to happen to the water supply to the people that are still there and to other towns down that river?
Well, this is a disaster. This is an ecological disaster. You're mentioning water. Effectively, the Crimean Peninsula is now completely cut off of fresh water, which was arriving by a pipeline from the dam. So that's for fresh water. Then in the Kherson region, it will be a problem as well. And the problem is that it's not just about today, tomorrow, and next week when the water will be really high. Even once the water will drain, when it will be receding, we are looking at weeks, months, and years and decades of issues, ecological issues, because the entire ecosystem is bound to completely shift after this disaster.
Yeah, we know that the Ukrainian president has called this a terrorist attack. He's been very clear. He blames Russia. Russia, of course, blames Ukraine. From the people that you've spoken to, is there any doubt in their minds that this was an attack by Russia?
There's no doubt in their minds, indeed. And of course, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky talked yesterday about a terrorist attack, but he didn't just start to warn the West about the possibility of such an attack. In fact, it's been 10 months that Ukrainian authorities have said that this dam had been mined by the inside by Russia. It is in occupied territory. Ukraine doesn't have access to that dam right now. And experts, Western experts and engineers, they say that it's impossible to inflict that amount of damage simply by artillery shelling. So even if Ukraine had shelled this dam, we wouldn't see the extent of the damage that we're witnessing now. So there's also more and more intelligence reports corroborating the fact that Russia is indeed responsible to destroy that dam.
Yeah. We know the Geneva Convention bans the targeting of dams. There's been international condemnation of Russia for this destruction. But I mean, Russia is not likely to in any way take this seriously. It's like it's a bridge too far, quite literally.
They haven't been taking it seriously because they've been enabled so far to commit crime after crime without facing enough consequences to stop, in my opinion, having been covering the full-scale invasion since the beginning. And what we see now is even more heartbreaking, that we get reports from occupied territories, even from Russian opposition media, that people are trapped there, that the Russian troops are actually denying them the possibility to leave their flooded homes by when they don't have Russian passports. So they are stuck in their homes. There's even a reconnaissance drone which had been flying over an occupied village where we could see people trapped on their roofs begging for help. So this is a humanitarian catastrophe, and this could, of course, amount to yet another war crime committed by Russia.
Yes, and what it seems to also have done is potentially really impact Ukraine's counteroffensive that everybody has been watching and waiting for.
So I'm not sure I would say it impacted the counteroffensive. Perhaps it delayed it, but even that we cannot be sure of because we don't know where the counteroffensive was supposed to start. If anything, I think that Russia might have shot itself once again in the foot by doing that, because once the water will recede, this will also leave its troops, the Russian troops, more exposed to a counteroffensive than it was before, because the Dnipro will not be as large as it was before. So the two armies will be much closer. And we know also from testimonies from Ukrainian military that there's a part of Russian troops stationed in the region which have been swept away by the floods. So it might also be a case of Russia not even caring about its own army and even sacrificing a part of its army and equipment in order to flood the region.
Yeah, and it's not the first time we've seen action like that by Russia. Emmanuelle, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.